Mm. Oh, hello fellow YouTubers. Yes, I'm back. I've been in hospital since very early last Sunday morning. That was 4th, February 4th. And I had a collapsed lung. It all started around about 2:15, something like that, on Saturday afternoon. In fact, I did upload a video on Saturday night mentioning the pain that I'd experienced, the agony of it, and it was very excruciating pain. It hit me out of the blue. Started with the chest and the middle and lower back, and I thought I was having a heart attack. I really did. So I hooked up my blood pressure monitor and checked my pulse, and that was fine. It was normal. And I did so again some 5 minutes later, and the result was the same. So I got onto the nebulizer, and I thought maybe it might help. It had little effect. So anyhow, I just put up and grin and bear it, so to speak. I had no idea my lung had collapsed. I knew that I had a partially collapsed right lower lung, but I didn't know that my entire lung, right lung, was on the verge of fully collapsing. So I put up with it for about 9 hours. It had abated the pain a bit over that period, and then I decided to call it quits. I went inside and had a shower, and but then I got very, very breathless. Far worse than I normally do when I have a shower. And when I got out to dry myself, it took me about 10 minutes. I mean, it took me a hell of a long time to dry myself. And of course, when I'm very breathless, I always have an urgent need to urinate. So I went, as soon as I finished getting dressed, I had a singlet, my underwear with the days of the week on it, and a t-shirt. And I went straight to the toilet, and it was there that the, well, do you know what hit the fan? So I went out I called out to my wife. You know, she'd already asleep. Called the ambulance. Had to call out 3 times before she actually heard me. And in the interim, I'm out in the kitchen leaning against the bench top of the cupboard out there, and I'm saying, "Save me, help me, help me." You know, this is the sort of thing you do when you're in such when you're stricken by such terror. And it took a little longer than normal for the ambulance to get there, because it was early Sunday morning by this time. And I was in dire straits. I knew that this was different. This was different to any other breathless episode I'd experienced. It's severe breathless, profoundly breathless. And I do remember that when the paramedic came into view, he came into view in my peripheral vision on my left. And I swear blind that he emerged out of total darkness. I knew the house wasn't in dark. My wife would have had every light on it. The house would have been lit up like a Christmas tree. Later on she confirmed that. But to me, everything was dark, except for the light in the kitchen. Everything was dark. The lounge room was completely dark, and he emerged out of the darkness with the a nebulizer and oxygen mask in his hand, a combination. And I remember him saying, "Do you think you can walk to the vehicle?" And I remember my head swimming, and I remember tilting, and that's all I remember. I don't remember being put in the chair, as my wife said, or wheeled out to the ambulance and taken to the hospital and taken to emergency. About 45 minutes of my life is completely missing, and I found out later that I was in such a dire situation. I was so close to death that someone in emergency called my wife and said, "You better get down here," because it wasn't looking good. And but I must admit, the darkness that I experienced just seemed to be so serene. Maybe that was just a split-second interpretation of it. But other than that, I remembered absolutely nothing for at least 40-odd minutes. And when I did wake up in emergency, I was lying on a table, and I was on a bed, one or the other. And I had a cover over my face, and I remember feeling 2 needle pricks in my in the right side of my chest. and I just happened to look up and there to my left, and there was a few people standing around me. And then I peeled the cover back, and I saw my eldest boy and my wife standing there looking, well, quite dire. And I noticed that the doctor performing the implant of the drainage tube was the same doctor I'd had on a couple of past visits to the hospital, and I've had breathless episodes. That woman saved my life. She really did. I stayed in hospital with the drainage tube in for, well, it was until the last day, the 6th day. Oh, sorry, that's not an earthquake, I just bumped the tripod. Yeah, I got the, I went in on early Monday. I honestly think that I must have been deprived of oxygen for that 40 odd minutes, because I've been terrible. I just can't remember. I start to say something and it just goes. And I don't know if that's possible or not. Anyhow, yeah, on Friday I was moved to a private room, yeah, because there was every chance I was going to be released. But that was the best part of it, being in that private room, waiting to get the tube out. And it came out about 12:30 on Friday afternoon. 2 nurses came in, lovely ladies. All the staff in the hospital are fantastic people, all of them. And I must admit, even the doctors are okay. And she had to remove 1 stitch. I felt a little bit of a pinch when that came out, but otherwise there was nothing. When she pulled the tube out, she said, "Oh my, that was in 15 centimetres, 6 inches." Yeah, 6 inches into my lung, between the rib cage and into the lung. Anyhow, there's a little bit of footage that you can have a look at with me in hospital. It lasts for about 1 minute 50 seconds, I think. You can watch it, or you can scroll through it if you wish. Yeah, other fellow YouTubers. Yeah, I'm in hospital. Yep, I'm on oxygen. I just had a shower, and it happens to me every time I have a shower. I become extremely breathless. So, as soon as I came out, the nurse here put me on oxygen. But yes, I went in here on early Saturday morning, and it was again after having a shower. But this episode was different. This episode was nothing like I've had before. Breathless, severe breathless, but it was the first time I've ever felt like I was going to pass out. And Gail had found phoned the ambulance. Goes on, goes down the tube to this unit here. But I'm feeling, this is Saturday night, it's February 10, and I'm just watching the 2020 cricket between Australia and England. Yes, and the little noise here in the background is my tower fan, because it's quite warm and quite humid. So I'm doing pretty well. So that's what's happened to me. I know a lot of you, many of you are very worried about me, and I'm sorry I couldn't get in contact with you. I don't have an iPhone or anything of its ilk. I have my iPad, but it's not set up to take emails and that sort of thing, so I don't bother, except for the one day I had it in hospital and asked my wife to bring it in so I could take a little bit of footage. that was all. I normally wouldn't take anything in at all. I have a mobile phone, but it's an old 17-year-old Nokia C5, and I don't receive emails on that. I suppose I could receive short messages, but I don't know how to reply on the keypad that I have. It's a very funny little thing. I know this video is going to run a long time, but you know, it's got these tiny little pads here, and every time you go to, like, it's all right to press, say, A, that'll come up, but if you wanted to say, I'm all right, or whatever, I don't know how to skip there's 3 letters on each key, and I don't know how to do it, and I'm not really interested. I don't want to know how to do it. I don't care. Because some of you did ask for my email address, so you can keep in contact. Well, you can have my email address, that's fine. I don't mind giving my email address out to people, some people. And those that I know and have known for some time, that's fine. Anyhow, so if it happens again, and there's every chance that it will happen again, but this time I will be well aware what that excruciating pain means, and I will get out of here quick, smart, and go to emergency, and maybe I'll nip it in the bud very quickly rather than having to go through what I did for the past 6 days. I mean, being in a hospital is a real nightmare. And I digressed again. Hang on a minute. I want to thank you all very, very much. I had a plethora of messages and comments. I think there was a total of something like 84. And I haven't replied to them all. I will reply to them all. I promise you. Scout's honour. But it's a lot to do. I'm still just really getting over it. Today was a pretty lazy day for me. I didn't do much at all. My sister went home. My sister came up from Wollongong, which is way down in the south, about 600 kilometres south of my hometown. And she flew down to Sydney, and her husband picked her up in Sydney. And my youngest boy came up from Taree, which is about 230k south of our hometown. And he spent a few days here. It was good to have them. They came into the hospital every day, and a few times at night. So yes, I want to thank you all very much. I really appreciate your concern. And it is difficult. You would like to be able to contact me, but as I said, that's what will happen. So if you send emails to my email address, it'll only be on my laptop here on the desktop, or the desk in my shed office, and that's where the laptop stays. And I'd have to catch up with them once I got home. It's a bit sore. I got a patch on here. It's not real sore, you know. It's just sort of nummy sore. It's all well. It's all well and good. Everything's fine. I really can't think of anything else to say. I can't at this particular time. It'll probably all come flooding back once I finish. So I'm going to get back to watching the cricket. There's not much left. There's probably only about 50 minutes of play left. And I want to thank you for watching. And thank you for all your concern and care. Very much appreciated. And until next time, bye for now. Whew, that is warm. Any tea left here? I'm as dry as a bone, I really am.